Welcome to this breakfast meeting. Today we're going to talk, let me first introduce Anil, 1994. So he's got a hugely successful, it can't be called startup anymore, it's become so big. Yeah. And Vasant Shenoy, whom all of you may be knowing, he's been actively involved in the alumni activities. So he runs a travel company. Yeah. And my name is Ramesh Hande. I am an executive coach. I am from 1984 Mechanical, REC Surathkal. And so I've kind of got a varied background, working in some 25 years in various corporates like Marico, Edeco, and so on. And then last 8 years in training and development, running my own company. And the last 5-6 years, as you can see, I'm pretty ancient. So last 5-6 years into executive coaching. So I'm a professional certified coach of International Coaching Federation. So today we are going to talk about, come, please, Anil.
Yeah, sure.
So friends, today we're going to talk about startups is a very hot topic. Everybody talks about startups, but not too many people talk about scale up. Okay, and the fact is that today 90% of startups fail in the first 5 years. Only 10% survive. So scale up is a very topical thing, very important. Just to get a pulse of this audience, how many of you are running your own company, startups? Startups or otherwise? Okay, significant, fairly significant. Sorry? Quite a lot. 1/3 of the room. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just give you a few facts like this. What I'm saying that just 10% survive beyond 5 years. There are something like 30 to 50,000 over the last few years. Every year there are 30, 40, 50,000 new startups which get incorporated, right? And the total base of Startup India is 210,000, right? And so it's an extremely difficult journey with only 10% surviving after 5 years. And out of that thing, only about 1.5% scale to $10 million, which is 80-90 crores. Just 1.5%. And only 0.1% approximately become unicorns. So this whole ecosystem of the startup community not only needs support, but also all the people who are heading their own companies need to kind of be clear about that all of you must have done it on your own, but this whole a new company needs a lot of nurturing. So we're going to talk about some of those things. What are the principles of growing a startup? What works, what doesn't work? So I'm going to be talking to Anil and Vasant. I'm going to ask a lot of questions to them. And at the end of about 45 minutes, we will do a Q&A. Any questions you have? I suggest you hold your questions unless you want some clarification in between, in which case you can interrupt. Otherwise, we'll have 10-15 minutes at least of Q&A. Yeah? Okay, in India, the companies, there are 7.2 or 7.3 crore companies. Okay. Out of that, 98% are, most of them are MSMEs, and 98% are micro enterprises, which means there are very huge companies or very small companies. So it appears that companies never thrive and grow. Something is stopping them. They die an early death and they never really flourish. So if it's like there is a top layer which contributes significantly to the economy, to the GDP. There is a missing middle layer relative to other countries which have a fairly healthy MSME kind of segment. And then there are a huge number of small ones, micro ones, which And many of them I know, personally, some of them, they are just existing, stagnant. Most of them have no ambition to grow. The founders in those companies which don't grow, the micro ones, just want to go to work every day and to get away from the wife. You getting what I'm saying? Okay. They want to go to work and come back, go to work and come back. Nothing much is happening. Stagnant, right? Actually, there are three phases in the growth of a startup. One is the survival. First, 0 to 3 years, if you survive, then you can look forward to the next phase. The second is repeatability. How can you repeat your top line, new customers? How can you keep repeating? Once you hit the formula, you can keep repeating and then grow to an acceleration stage where you have both the capital and you have the scale. And then you go to a reasonable good size, $1 million, $2 million kind of a thing. Any quick ones? How is it going? Am I kind of making sense that it's a very difficult journey for startups to scale up in their journey? And the most common mistakes, many of which I've seen with startup founders or with startups, is one is the product market fit may not be there. So you launch the wrong product, or you launch the wrong in the wrong market, and you never really, it's like a flight which never took off, it's crashing. Yeah. Second is the founders, the chemistry between the founders, the, what should we say, the people who click with each other. And many times the founders are individually great, but something prevents them from clicking and scaling. Sometimes the ego, sometimes lack of clear, division of responsibility. Everybody is trying to do everything. So this founder chemistry is one of the most important things. The other thing is founders, they keep doing, like all human beings, we have a tendency, whatever worked for us in the past, we keep doing it. Okay, hoping that it will give us the results in future. So the founders never really, therefore, they want to do everything themselves. They want to hustle. I can do it. I'm a Superman. Okay, and they try to do everything and fail to develop a second line. And even if they develop a second line, many times it's packed with relatives and friends. Okay, who may not be really fitting that position or competent enough, but incompetent second line, or a second line which doesn't enjoy delegation. The founder is, even in big companies, it happens. The founder does everything. And the kind of second line is free, relatively. So that's another problem, second line. Then micromanagement is a fairly common thing. That as an individual contributor, I worked in various companies and I like to do everything myself, and I have this huge fascination with perfection. I want to do it exactly right, and everybody around me must do it the same way as I do. That's another problem. Then there is this ego which says that I know best. Okay, so everybody must do it my way. And then in the growth of a startup, that at every stage there are these walls which keep coming up, whether it is funding, whether it is new product, whether it is team development, whatever, you keep getting new walls at every stage. So therefore the resilience is extremely important. Then of course the capital. Okay, now you see that most startups think that capital is the only problem, but you have 10 other problems to overcome. And lastly, the balance between various things which make a company succeed or fail. Okay, the balance is you can't overdo anything. You got to move in balance. If you overinvest in new products, there is no capital for other things. Okay. So you got to move in a certain balance. So that's what I have to say. And now I'll hand it over to Anil to do a quick introduction. So if you just introduce you and your company, Anil, and then we'll come back to some specific questions I have from you. Please.
My name is Anil Singaraju. I'm from the 1994 computer science batch, REC Surat Kalite. I still can't say NIT, but that's just old habits. My company is called Diona, Diona. We started in 2012. I come from the background of public sector, social services, that kind of domain. That's what we've been working on even in my previous jobs. In 2012, my previous company where I was heading the India ODC or GCC or whatever you want to call it, got sold to IBM. And then myself and two of my co-founders, one is an Irish guy called Graham, and another fellow is an American, John. So the three of us used to be colleagues in the previous company. As normally people from REC do, met in a pub in Ireland, and we said we're not going to IBM, which bought that other company, so we'll do our own thing. So that's how Diona started. Started in a pub. What we do, our tagline is we help governments help people. So that kind of says what we do. We make software which runs on mobile devices and tablets, etc., that helps either citizens who are seeking help from government, be it food assistance or cash or work injury and insurance related to that, or child welfare, child support. There's a whole bunch of areas where citizens need help from the government. So it's to enable citizens to do self-service, be able to get information about their benefits and about the status of their payments, things of that nature, on their mobile devices, so they don't have to go to these offices, sit in line and waste time, all of this kind of stuff. And we make software for the agency caseworkers who are out there trying to help people, trying to do assessments about whether a child is safe in their house or should they be put in foster care. These kind of, or whether they can find a placement for a child who needs to get out of their current situation and have to be put in a safer place. So there's a lot of things like that, foster care and child placements and things. So we make software for those agency workers to use their handheld devices to do work on the field. So broadly, those are the two categories. We have about 7 different solutions. We sold our first license, I think, in 2014 to the city of New York. They've since bought 3 other products. We have customers in New Zealand coming up like this, and in Germany, in the state of Hamburg. Then we've sold some licenses to some councils in the UK. We work in the state of Michigan, Clark County, which is Las Vegas, Arizona, North Carolina, a bunch of other states in America. And in Canada, we also work with tribal governments and a couple of workers' compensation boards in Manitoba and in Ontario. So broadly, that's kind of where we are. We are a global kind of company. We started globally because the 3 of us were from 3 different places, and not all of us decided to stay in our own home countries. So we never really came to one place. So we've built teams pretty much in every country where we do work. So we have about 180 employees now across 6 different countries. It's always been that way from day one. We do about 25 million in revenue, and then we are profitable. And then we continue to do what we do in the government business. Scaling in government is quite difficult. We'll talk more about it as we go along. I think that's a decent kind of introduction.
Yeah. So Anil, what's the current revenue size?
So we'll close this year at about 25 million. We normally do everything in euros, so in euros. And we are headquartered in Ireland because we get a lot of R&D credits and things. And the Irish government also invests into startups. So when we raise money, we raised around in 2014. So they come in for X% without any, so they just match, they just come in on rounds for funding.
So Anil, now let's talk a little bit about your co-founders. I believe there are 3 other people.
2 others.
2 others. Okay. So, can you? What is their background, and did you know them earlier? So, how's been the journey together? How do you? What roles do each of you play? Is there a clear understanding? And how do you resolve fights or differences?
We normally don't. It ends up being resolved over a beer at the end. But so the three of us come from three different backgrounds. So I was always the techie. So I continue to be the CTO, and I dream of new products and product roadmaps and technology things like this. Graham, who's our CEO, is also the sales guy. So his background is in sales, and he also has a master's in social work. So that helps in this field. And John, who runs our services and customer projects, he's been in this field forever. I used to work for Deloitte in the government sector. So we all met. I mean, I think I met John in '98 or something, and then Graham in about 2000. So we've known each other for decades. So even when we wanted to start the company, we had known each other for about 12, 15 years. Not like on a daily basis. We were not like friends who will just call and say, how are you types, but we were working on various things together at various stages. So in terms of how our chemistry is, I think it's fairly normal. I mean, we get along very well for the most part. And then, and we kind of three different we have three different approaches to how we do this. I think I am very pragmatic. If it's not practical and logical, I question it. Graham, the CEO, is very emotional. He goes like that. And John is a very balanced guy. He's the kind of guy in between, right? So to his question about our chemistry, I think it's normally okay, but there are places where we disagree, and we tend to get to the same place but using three different roads, right? And then it takes a while sometimes, and we do argue and stuff, but at the end of the day, business is business, and then your personal equations don't change. So I think, yeah.
So, Anil, what is the biggest difference you had with your co-promoters? The biggest one, and how did you resolve?
I'm not sure it's resolved yet. So our biggest thing always comes about around growth and scale up and whether we are reaching a plateau, right? And then the optimistic guy in Graham says, no, we're not reaching the plateau. We can keep doing more. But our scaling is directly related to the amount of patience you have and the amount of capital you can spend, right? Because it's government. We could take years to close a deal. Once we close a deal, it goes for decades, right? We closed New York City in 2014. They're still a customer, right? We did some work in New Zealand in 2013. They're still a customer. But the point is to get those, we could take 2 years, 3 years. And the problem with that is that, so the biggest point of discussion or disagreement for us is whether we should keep doing it this way or go raise more money and scale, or go fold up into somebody else who can put the money and the boots on the ground, as you say, to take the software, which is fairly successful, and make it really big, right? So that's where we kind of have our differences always. We don't necessarily, I wouldn't say we've resolved it yet. It's a discussion that goes on. And we have external pressures. We have investors who want to now, make some money out of this and exit. So we have those are the main differences. We rarely disagree on business strategy and what products we should build and what services we should do. That's been very aligned all the time. It also helps that we are in a field where you can't really take the latest and greatest technology thing that Anthropic or somebody throws at you and then say, tomorrow I have to do it. We don't have to do anything tomorrow in the government business because they won't buy it. So it's mostly been very smooth. We've never actually had an argument where we had to run out of the room.
Ah, so you're leading a boring life.
Pretty much.
So what about Anil? How differentiated is your business? Is it a lot of people in the line, or?
Yeah, so I mean, traditionally, the government markets we serve in Europe and mostly English-speaking markets and Germany, let's say, are dominated by these big five players, Deloitte and Accenture and these kinds. and they're all custom built kind of projects. So these guys get projects which are very big, which take forever to do, and then they never get out, right? So we came into that field. I mean, we were in that field before with my previous company. So what we came in with is quick wins, and you can deploy what we've got in like 3 to 6 months, and then make your legacy systems more modern without having to spend too much money and time. And we've proven this in multiple places. Around COVID, as an example, so Washington, D.C., they had no way for people to apply for a benefit online. They didn't, around COVID time, so you're talking like 2020, they didn't have a proper online system. And we came in and we brought in our solution, which runs on mobile devices and all that. And we put that in place in 3 months to sit in front of their existing system, right? So our competition tends to be really big companies who are saying, I'll do everything. We come in and say, doing everything could take you decades, and then they have not proven it so far. I can get you something which is nimble and really quick to implement, and that's kind of our differentiation. The bigger differentiation, I think, is that our domain knowledge is built into the products from day one. So we're not selling Salesforce and saying, I'll reconfigure it for this field. We've always done it for this sector, and so the domain expertise is built in.
Great. Okay. So Anil, tell me, what's your top 3 scale-up challenges you've faced or facing?
See, the biggest one is what I just mentioned, which is the sales cycles in our sector are extremely long. You're talking probably between 12 to 24 months. So I keep telling people that whether you sell a screw to the government or sell a rocket, it takes the same amount of time, right? It's $2 at 200 million, doesn't matter, right? And that for us is the biggest scaling challenge, because for us to cover the entire markets, we need to probably hire like 30 sales guys, and each of whom will spend 2 years on an account to go and get new deals. I think that's been a bigger challenge.
So what is the challenge?
The challenge is that it just takes time. So you need a lot of money. You need to invest a lot of money in sales guys. We've seen that typically it takes 18 to 24 months before a sales guy closes a deal, right? So imagine spending $200,000, $300,000 on a salesperson in America, let's say, and then they're taking 2 years to close their first deal. So to scale is a problem like that.
To scale through people is
Scale through people is a challenge. Technology-wise, I think we think.
What's number 2 challenge?
I think that's our biggest challenge, actually. Once we get in, we've not had too many issues in terms of getting it out there, getting live, any of those. So the second challenge is related to it, because you need a lot of capital then, right? So trying to raise capital for a business where it's very sticky, but it takes forever to scale, start up, and kind of grow is a problem, because investors don't typically come in. There are specific investors who invest in our sector. They're happy with this business which grows organically, but then is there forever. This is a forever business once you get into an account. But to get into an account is the problem. And so the challenge will be like, if we want to scale this on our own, we'll probably need $30-40 million and 6 years, probably.
So what about the people side? Recruitment, attrition, culture building, anything on that?
So people side, we've been very lucky. A lot of my old colleagues and our old colleagues across the world came and joined us in 2012. So we have about 180 people. About 80 of them have been with us for more than 10 years, which is very sticky from that point of view. So we don't have to recruit that often. And it's a very niche field. So recruitment, especially in India, has been a challenge, because first thing you have to explain to them what we do. And a lot of people don't understand it. And once you understand it, then you need to tell them how you kind of go about doing. And it's not, it's a very regulated field, so people need to have a lot of skills outside of just coding. And that's been a challenge, but I think we've navigated that fairly well in terms of people. We also, when we set up the company, I was telling you that we said we will own no capital assets, no servers, no nothing. So everything runs on the cloud, which I think these days everybody does it, but in 2012, which was not that common. So and all the systems we have are scalable because they're all on the cloud, so I can globally scale it. We've kind of consolidated our finance operations and given it to a provider, a friend of mine here, so it makes that very easy. So we have no finance people in the company. We have 3 people in HR who take care of all these geographies. So people-wise, it's been a fairly easy journey, I must say. And most people, once they join us, I think we pay decently well, and there's a fairly easy culture. And most of them, because of the nature of the business, they work from home, except for here where people come to office once in a while, and in Ireland where they come once in a while. So with that, I think people have been fairly happy. So we haven't had our attrition rates over the years on an average is about 5% maybe.
So such a boring business. So which is good actually, because the business succeeds, though it's boring.
Yeah.
So if you look at our audience here, what would be your 2-3 pointers to build their own startups, build their own companies?
Yeah, I think you should know that, obviously everybody says this, you should know that it takes time. I would say that any single founder business is going to be quite a difficult thing to go and raise funding and things like that. I wouldn't do it.
So you think you should have more than one?
I think you should always have more than one founder, either to argue or to discuss. I mean, it makes sense, and you have more perspectives to the same problem, and you will probably end up with the right answer. If you're talking to yourself, I think sometimes you end up getting to the same answer, which is wrong, right?
So
more definitely, I would definitely say you should do that, and then take advantage of all the technology that's out there these days. And so you don't have to. I was joking to him saying that our initial days when we started, I told Graham and John that we should set up infrastructure in such a way that I should be able to shut the company in a day. So I'll go to Microsoft and shut off Office 365 and there's no more time.
And I was telling him that's not very good thing for employees to know.
No,
that
we tell them though.
Shut down in one day.
No, we tell them and they all laugh about it because those days it was a fancy thing, but not anymore. Now everybody does the same kind of setup. So that will be another thing. And thirdly, patience. I mean, I can teach patience more because I think if we work in the public sector technology space for about a year, you will be so patient. I mean, if it takes 5 years, you'll be like, oh, it only took 5 years. So patience. You need patience for any kind of business, and I think people know that. But if you're an impatient person, then I think hard before you start your own company. Because most of what you do is in somebody else's hands. If your customer doesn't buy and you're impatient, it means nothing.
Lovely. So what next for your business?
So, I mean, like I said, I think we are looking to figure out, are we going to be able to scale this we wanted to scale it to like 100 million ARR type business over the next while, but then
next how many years?
Next few, in 5-6 years, that's the problem. That's the thing we are grappling with right now.
You badly need a coach.
I do. So because I think our future is probably going to be consolidating with a much bigger player because they have the necessary sales force, not Salesforce, the company, but the salespeople, etc., and boots on the ground to be able to take our software to multiple places. Another thing I forgot to mention, we also dabble with, in India especially, we work with a number of nonprofits. We're very proud of I am personally very proud of what we did with Biocon Foundation, where they used our software to do oral cancer screening. They've done about 3 lakh screenings of oral cancer, potential oral cancer cases using our software. It's very simple. The software is simple. You take pictures with your mobile.
So 100 million in 5 years is what you want to grow to.
That's what we should do. Yes.
Yeah. Lovely. So let's move to Vasant.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. So Vasant, you will just please describe your background of your business a little bit for our audience.
Okay. So
And what's been your journey in the last, when did you start?
I started in 2018.
2018. So last 8 years,
8
what's
years,
been
yes.
your journey?
Yes. So the industry that I am working in is actually travel. We do a little bit of corporate, but mostly we are focused on leisure travel. And to speak a little bit about the industry, it is it's a huge one. 5% of the world's GDP comes from travel. But if you look at the India scenario, it is very fragmented. And as Ramesh sir was saying, like it's it's crowded at the bottom and very rare at the top. And there is a reason for it. Like there is very few barriers to entry into a travel business, and that's one of the reason that it stays fragmented over the period of time. So like the biggies like Make My Trip with a lot of capital have kind of tried to kind of consolidate the industry and become place where there are only a couple of players, but that has not happened yet, and they have realized that they have to rely on the travel agents for their business. So they are now promoting the travel agents through their portal and other things. So it's a very competitive industry to start with, and why I got into it is because I found that there are still some niches which technology and innovation can solve. So a couple of things which I have worked on is like early on in 2010-11. That's when I started my thrust with travel. At that time, I was working somewhere else also, and I came up with this idea of dynamic travel packaging, which means that you can kind from the comforts of your home without going to a travel agent. Back in those days, it was kind of unthinkable. You can still kind of configure your travel package just by combining various elements online. So that with that idea I started off, but various things came into picture. Like the ecosystem at that time was totally different. We didn't have freelancers or people who will do custom development for you. We didn't have co-working spaces like Beehive, and digital marketing was also not it was in its infancy. So because of all these things, I kind of went back to job. 2017-18 is when I came back, because I saw that my idea which I started off with has not been really implemented, but people like Make My Trip have started putting on their website the idea of dynamic packaging. So with that, I came back and worked on it quite a bit. Faced some issues with development and other things. We also worked on parallelly. We worked on other solutions. Like one was international airport lounges, because that is one place where there was a big monopoly by somebody called as Priority Pass, and they still maintain that monopoly, because it is through the distribution, which is mainly the credit card companies kind of go to Priority Pass and try to distribute the lounges. It has not yet been democratized. Something which is as simple as booking a hotel, it takes you to jump through the hoops, your credit card points, and various other factors. When you have to still go to the airport lounge and check whether you will be able to get in. So that is the problem that we were trying to simplify it there. Second problem that we looked at was the museums and monuments, where we kind of tried to bring in a system there, because even though heritage is a very big part of the tourism, there is a disconnect there. Like people are there is no proper way in which you can interact with the artifacts and the monuments. So we thought that we can bring in a system there which can kind of help museums manage better.
So can you focus on what do you call it? Dynamic what?
Dynamic packaging.
Yeah, what is dynamic packaging?
So dynamic packaging is now it is pretty simple. Like with so many people who have attempted it, like you can combine flights, hotels, etc. in a meaningful way from a website or a mobile app. We went one level ahead. So we faced COVID. During COVID, it was everything was shut down in travel. So 2 years there was nothing much moving on. But after COVID, we came up with a system which is a much refined form of the dynamic packaging, which is called as collaborative travel planning. So when it comes to collaborative planning, it is mostly for the small groups, which was not addressed by either the big OTAs or the tour operators.
So what is collaborative travel planning?
Okay, it is where traditionally in the leisure travel there has been FITs and GTs. So FITs is free and independent travelers who are like small families or two people who are kind of taking up the leisure trip. So these were called as free and independent travelers, and then the other side was GT, which was the group travel, where there was biggies like Thomas Cook, etc., who
Group
announced.
travel, everybody understand.
Yeah.
What is your
So
dynamic?
in between there is a new sector which is emerging, which is a new category of people who are a small set of people, like a group of 7 or 8 people who are want to travel, decide on the travel plans on their own. Now the Thomas Cook and Cox and Kings kind of players, they announce the date and say that you have to join our trip on this date. So here what we are trying to do is, like, based on the convenience of the group, we are trying to kind of prepare or plan a trip. And the problem that we are really solving is not that of booking. Booking problem is solved by OTAs and other people. What we are actually trying to solve is the consensus building, the keeping people on the same page, collaboration when it comes to travel planning. So these are the real problems that we are trying to solve through the platform.
So you're trying to make people who previously don't know each other to collaborate and go on a common trip.
Well, not necessarily people who don't know each other, but somebody who has an association of some way. Like, it can be alumni groups, it can be like office groups, it can be, school friends or something like that. But now they are sitting at different places, but still they are thinking of traveling to a common place and coming back to them. So there is a lot of collaboration needed because the travel plans need to be synchronized.
Okay. So Vasan, how many players are there with this kind of concept?
So there are very few people who are doing this. I cannot even name them because if you search on the internet or actually look at the market, there are not many people who are playing in this area now.
So what's your plan in terms of, you're almost like first in the market.
Yes.
So how are you planning to take advantage of being first in the market? What's your plan?
Okay, so the thing is, like, even though we are first in the market with this kind of an offering, we have to look at who else is satisfying this need, because today also groups travel. So who is satisfying their needs? It is, of course, they are going to the OTAs, but then they don't get everything that they want. So one does, like, we have to educate the customer, because this is a new category which is coming up. There needs to be a little fair bit of customer education which needs to go in, saying that you have this problem that can be solved through a platform. So that is one of the major thing, because that's where the money goes down the drain. Maybe not down the drain, but in educating the market and building up a market. And then because travel is something which you can very easily copy ideas in and build something very quickly. As I mentioned, the barriers to entry is much lesser. You have to be also very conscious of the fact that the market that you build doesn't go to anybody else. So those are the challenges that we will face there. Typically, I would say that I would go to groups which are pre-formed, like alumni associations, cultural groups, sports goers is one major thing, both active and passive sports goers. In fact, the idea of collaborative planning came from a marathon group which was going to Leh Ladakh, and they were going repeatedly every 3 or 4 times a year, and they were the same group, but still they faced a lot of challenge in kind of executing the travel. So that is where I got this idea from. So sports goers is a very very set segment where we can actually target this product with.
Okay. So anything you want to add?
Go ahead.
Okay, great. So we'll throw it open for Q&A, either to Anil. Yeah.
One of the challenges which we face is actually how do you end up aggregating the users and how do you publish yourself to the user? That's one question. Second question is, mostly whenever we do these sort of aggregations, we are cutthroat on pricing. Well, I have seen how our Rotarians bargain with respect to a repeated passenger trip to Thailand. It boils down to cutting down on your revenue. Whereas if I am running a business, I prefer to be on a business where I don't want people to cut on the revenue part of it or cut on the cost part of it. It is very challenging. I mean, it's a very good niche segment, but very challenging to aggregate the right users and very challenging to, on the group bargaining perspective.
Right.
So how do you fix them with the...
Right. So we are looking at basically scenario. See, when you look at this group travel also, there are two kind of trips that are there. One is the peer-to-peer kind of decision making. Another is where a one man or one person, two people kind of makes a decision. So we are looking at the peer-to-peer decision making. So exactly these incentive trips and the big groups which are there are not part of our target market. Second, we are looking at people who are having some kind of association with each other and who would like to kind of have their own say in the decision making. So even if you exclude the other thing, this segment is actually big and growing.
Wasn't this is my thoughts and my experience because I want to know how the market is. I have traveled many times over the last 2.5 decades. I don't know, yours is a software platform, right?
Yes.
Okay. So whenever I have discussed a package tour, especially for family or a group, uh, those tours are basically controlled. Like you cannot decide what time you'll be by 8 o'clock from the hotel. A common bus will pick you up. As a family or two families, I have found there's a huge savings in the margin if you do it yourself.
Yes.
For example, last year we want to go to Vietnam. I don't know, I will not use your platform, but generally travel agents I'm saying. So these travel agents, they will come with some package saying, so for three of us, almost 5 lakh they charge me on the thing. Then I decided I will do it on my own. 3.5 lakhs we made the whole package.
Okay.
So with your platform, especially everybody is cost conscious, right?
Yes.
How one can save a cost by using your platform? Because everybody wants to save the cost. Can
Right.
you suggest something how you can like I want to use your platform.
Right.
How I can do it by cost consciousness?
So one is we tie up with the vendors who are can offer us a range of options, from the costlier one to the lower budget ones. Second thing is you pay for only what you use. Many of the package holidays they will combine things which you may not really prefer to go. So that's one more thing. Here you actually choose and pay for only what you use. So these are the two main things which I feel kind of contributes to that kind of savings.
Anil, wonderful journey by you. My thoughts are the trust between the founders. Trust is missing. I have seen many MSMEs which I used to. I worked with one and I have also dealt with many. Trust and empowerment is missing. Maybe in your case you're going very smooth in your software, and there are 3 strategies usually people use when they want to do any business. One is cost leadership, second is focus, third is differentiation. Like Apple became through differentiation only. They don't compete with each other, correct? So what is your thought on this as to why trust is missing or why they don't empower the people?
I mean the founders, you mean?
No, empower the team. For example, any decision, as Mr. I forgot your name, sir. Ramesh said, everything the CEO wants to do, everything the MD wants to do.
So
You understand? He said it. So why don't they empower? It's lack of trust. Is my question to you.
Okay. I mean, I can only talk from my own experience. See, for us, we've always, like I said, we come from different backgrounds. Number one, and then we we are a bit lazy in the way that you're saying this. So we tend to give work to other people. We haven't really had a situation where that we've controlled everything. But what you're saying is true in most cases. And then if you're I don't think we would have reached where we have reached with that level of control and you know almost selfish behavior is what I would say. We've been lucky, I would say, is in my case, because the 3 of us have ended. We're all the same kind of age group. We've kind of grown through experience in many ways, and then it makes it easier that way to bounce off ideas, and we have our lanes very clear. So, for example, a CEO doesn't come and tell me what technology we should use. I don't go tell him how he should sell software because he has done this for 30 years. I've done what I've done for 30 years. So I think we've kind of stayed in our lanes and tried to build teams which can then come work with us on those journey. One of the things we did, just as an example, is when we started the company, the first 5-10 people we picked were really senior guys. So we brought all of them to Malaysia to sit in a workshop and workshop the entire product journey and what we want to build, the vision with us, right? So that was from the initial stages. We started involving other people, which made it easier for us to go forward and get their buy-in, right? Because we said, we all sat down, we discussed, we came up with this plan, so let's now go execute. We've done it that way. I'd say if you want my advice, do something like that. Get the initial people involved and make them part of what you're doing. And that makes it easier in future.
just wanted to quickly add to what Anil said, is that of why the trust doesn't happen is that people are insecure about trusting down the line or trusting their co-promoters. So one is the insecurity. Ki, if I never trusted my own team, how do I suddenly trust? That's one issue. The second thing is that I have the biggest stake in this. I put in a lot of money. Okay, what if things go wrong? Again, in insecurity. And what often is a good practice is that of course, what Anil said about the initial hires sitting together, but even before that, the promoters sitting together and drawing up a charter. Things like who will do what in terms of roles, what kind of difference, foreseeing a little bit into the future, what kind of differences may happen, what is the mechanism to resolve that kind of thing. A little bit of enlightened thinking at the start. And then the other thing is, as you go along, there will be many differences, but people don't necessarily surface it. They keep it to themselves, and then the mistrust keeps building. So from time to time, getting into off-site where these things can be discussed is a good idea.
See, my question to both Vasant and Anil. Now, there are two types of startups. One is they start with their customer in your product area. And the other is you have a niche product where you feel there is a huge potential and you work on that. How do you find the balance between the two? Which is more important? Having a niche product which is unique and for which there is a huge amount of demand, or to have one captive customer to start with and then evolve and develop your product over a period of time?
So in my case, I initially started off with a product which is like, which I thought was having a good potential in the market. So I have experienced both the things. One is when I started off with the dynamic packaging engine. So it is like, there was, I was thinking that, what if people could kind of, build their packages on their own in a time when everybody used to rely on the travel agent. So there, I didn't start with a particular customer in mind, but I started off anyway, thinking that this is a niche. So, due to some reason, I was not able to bring that product out into the market in the right time. But the second time around, I was always doing, on the side, I was always doing travel planning. So I used to have an offline team, which is, which was getting me revenue also from various trips that were planned for different people. So we were getting the industry experience also from that. So during that time, I came across groups, especially this marathon running group, which I told you about. That is when I actually decided to pivot my idea. And there I had a customer. And when I went in depth into this market, I found that, there is actually a demand for it. So it works both ways. That's my answer.
So in our case, it was a bit of a hybrid kind of approach. So we did want to build software which ran on mobile devices, etc. in 2012 because we thought smartphones are the way forward, right? But at the same time, we also had a set of customers from our previous company and previous life who we knew were looking for things like this. They couldn't define what they were looking for, but they were trying to say, I want to do better citizen self-service. I want to make my caseworkers more effective, these kind of statements. So we kind of combined both of them. So while we were building the product, we were not building it in the hope that somebody will buy it. We were building it knowing that there's a bunch of people who are looking for it already. So that was our approach.
I would like to add something. So apart from working on my own startup, I have worked in 2-3 different other startups, mostly B2B, not B2C. But there I have found that, you actually work on some area, you find a customer, and that one particular customer, you try to kind of, see what is their problem and how you can kind of, replicate that solution to different other customers and productize it. So what began as a service for one customer kind of, became a product. So there people have found success.
So I have two questions. Okay, so one is, I think, Anil, you can answer and maybe you can add. The second one is for both of you, probably for you. First question is, I think your challenge you're saying is mostly investment, isn't it? Because to scale up the capital and so on and so forth. Have you tried crowdfunding route? And for example, NITK, if you say, okay, why don't you invest 1 lakh for next 5 years, probably you can raise a big amount. And if it is a sticky business, probably people are willing to invest into that. So I'm just curious whether you went into that route and what challenges you faced. Okay. The second question is, probably you might be impacted by that. Is the AI coming into the picture?
I mean, I think the kind of money we require is more institutional level, and that's one of the reasons why we didn't go. And it's not, see, ours is not a social impact business. While we work, ultimately, we are helping government agencies help the people in need. It's not a social impact business where you can go and raise crowdfunding. I think it's much easier to do that way. And I think our kind of capital requirement is more in the 20, $30 million level, and it's not practical to do it that way.
So you
Yeah.
thought about it.
We because I think there's only so many avenues we can take.
Well, the question of crowdfunding, we are looking for funds, but crowdfunding is something which we haven't thought about. One is because little a small amount, small investors coming on board, it increases the cap table, and there is also a control factor which is there. I mean, not to speak about the huge amount of control in the business, but it is very difficult to manage the investor expectation in the next round.
No, there are many passive investors.
No, suppose you want to go for an institutional round in the next this thing, so it becomes a problem. So that is in brief. I won't go much into that.
The next question is about, for example, recently we went to a Bali trip. Just take a, close friend of friends together. We used Chat GPT or whatever, and it could come up with beautiful plans and in very quick time. So, are you incorporating this into your business? Is it a competitor to you?
Okay.
This is another question.
Yeah, it's a very interesting and long topic. Actually, I'll keep it short. One is currently the capabilities of AI in travel is like mostly into the discovery of the things like creation of the itinerary, what other things can you do, what sightseeing, etc. But then there is a basic layer which is required to support it, which is the execution layer, which is missing currently, which might kind of get tackled because of the agentic AI. Because agentic AI then can book your tickets, book your hotels, etc. in a very good way. Again, there remains a question of support, like trust and support. Who's going to take up that? So recently, ChatGPT kind of OpenAI just said that they will not go into the travel business because they are not able to kind of support the trips. So discovery is one thing, but support is a totally different thing, because travel is one place where there are a lot of disruptions which happens, and there are a lot of handshake operations between the flights, the hotels, the transfers, etc., etc. So that's one thing which is right now it is not there. But having said that, AI can be used in every other thing like customer service, building the applications and other things which we are actively exploring.
Great. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is specifically on scaling businesses, and I would like to ask it to Anil, because typically we start in a country, and because Devana is across multiple countries, and entering new countries, markets is a big challenge, right? Because if it's a regulated industry, and most industries are regulated, so you need to comply with the regulations and so on. Then there is the whole concept of internationalization of what you produce, right? The software and so on. And typically, that's quite a hard barrier, and it's not been. What was your choices in that in terms of how you went about it? Because things like you said, HR and finance and maybe workspace and all of that, that's something that you can kind of outsource. Did you have captive? Did you outsource? How do you think about it? And what would companies typically need to look for? Because like if you're only in one market, it may be saturated like India, and everybody wants to scale to different geographies. And how would you recommend people do that?
I don't think there's an easy answer for it. So regulations is a big deal, and regulations in every geography are different. So you have to build, you have to know that you need to build for it from day one. For example, what they have for privacy and data security in, say, New Zealand is completely different from what they have in Germany. I'll give you a quick example. In Germany, the customer said they don't want to use on their iPhones Apple Maps within our app, right? Because they're like, I don't want to send any data to the Apple servers, right? So that's a very strange thing, but we had to make the software in such a way that you can turn off things like that or turn it on. Internationalization is another challenge, but you have to build. I think these days it's easier to build software to go multilingual, etc. So that was done from day one. So we work in New York City. Our solution runs in 9 languages, including Arabic and Bangla and things like that. So those things were thought about from day one. But if you go to new markets, there is no, I mean, for example, again, one of our advantages for the three of us have been we worked in the same company previously and we knew the customer base that that company had. And a lot of them were in the same place in terms of for trying to look for solutions like ours. So for our expansion, basically piggybacked on that list of customers to start with. And in some places, we've had system integrators who took us in and said, okay, I'm going to bring you to 3 places more because this works here.
Yeah, I have a question as well. So agility is the advantage of any startup. But at the same time, you need to have a lot of processes and things in place, which are slightly bit paradox. So in terms of scaling up an organization, how do you manage these two? Yeah, because you have different cultures.
No, I think, I mean, you have to start from day one trying to think about this stuff a little bit, right? Because, I mean, the processes you said initially.
Your question was not heard. Can you please repeat loud?
No, being agile in business, you need to reduce the processes.
Right.
At the same time, having a process would help the organization to have a structured system. So, in this paradox, how do you scale up the organization to effectively run the business?
So how do you stay agile and set processes to scale at the same time?
And also have processes.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think you can only move at a certain speed when you're in the initial stages because you need to set the things that you want to set in place, which is kind of what we've done. I mean, we don't spend any time on, how do I hire somebody else in New Zealand? How do I do payroll in somewhere else? Or what do I do to get them a computer? I mean, these are simple things that you think, right? But there's a process for everything. And part of working in the sector we work in is that everything is process and regulation driven. So we end up thinking like that. I think it's a unfair advantage in many ways that we have. So we haven't really found we have not hit a bump in any place where they're saying, oh, what do we do now, right? So, but I think it requires initial planning. You can't just do it on the fly. I don't think you can make up stuff on the fly. So that is the problem. So we've talked about this also, but briefly. One of the things so for example, when co-founders are there, like in our business, and then, like I said, we are all trying to get to the same place, but following different paths, which may or may not be aligned, but the end result is the same, or end destination is the same. How would we kind of approach a coach or or some sort of help in terms of advice with the folks who are experienced like yourselves to get there? And then what would be your approach or what would be your recommendation for people like us to get to the same place? For us to figure out how we get over these differences or how we think, how we align our thinking to the end goal and how we get closer in terms of our thinking and alignment, right?
We'll follow up with the answer.
Okay, so your question contains the answer.
Okay.
The alignment is the issue. So all founders sitting together and a coach can facilitate all of them getting aligned in terms of why did they join the business, what's in it for them, surface everybody, let everybody know everybody else's reasons for coming together. Okay, and also many people come into the business with different values. Okay, what's important for one person, which is independence of running my own business. That's why he got into it. What's important for somebody else is the huge money-making opportunity. So what are the values that each of them are bringing to the venture? And how can we have a set of shared values which everybody subscribes to and everybody lives by? And this is not a document which goes there, on the wall, but should be more of a lived document that the founders get together every 6 months or 1 year and ask each other with the help of a coach, ki, how are we doing? What violations of our shared values did we do? And what are the values that worked? How did we kind of work with some of those values and kind of pat each other on the back or say that this value got violated? And ultimately, it is all about people willing to be open. Many times I found founders come with there are silent founders who don't articulate what they are looking for. They are silent, but suddenly it breaks in unpredictable kind of ways. The whole thing is about transparency. The whole thing is about putting everything on the table and finding common ground, shared values, and reviewing those frequently. Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Just wanted to ask one question to me actually. So, what is the kind of signals that one should look forward to from making the transition from startup to scale?
Okay, startup to scale up signals. I think startups, they start off with a lot of hustling. They start off with a lot of survival. How do we survive this month? How do we make ends meet? How do we pay salaries? They start off with all those survival instincts. They start with struggling with getting customers. They start with quoting the right price, making money on every deal. Those are the initial struggles. Right? So once you know that those struggles are coming to an end, that you're able to get repeat customers, you're able to be profitable in your business, that's one signal that you need to have. Are we struggling to make ends meet every day, or can we look at higher order objectives like scaling up? So that's one thing. Second thing is, do we have a second line? Okay, to whom who can take on the responsibility, or we are all doing it ourselves? That's the second signal in terms of. Third is the capital runway. How much money do we have? Is it going to last us for 2 months, 3 months, or is it going to last us for 6 months, 1 year? What is the capital that we have available for scale up? Got it. Yeah, these are 2-3 key things. Yeah, but I think Rajshekar.
Thanks, three of you, for enlightening us with most of the inputs, and I hope you already learned a bit new today. So thanks to BHIVE for supporting this event by providing the venue. And the new thing, what today is not just NITK breakfast meeting, it is more of NIT South. We have guys from Calicut. How many are there from Calicut? Govan Ganesh. And we have people from Trichy, I think big contingent over there. So about some 8 of them. And we have 2 from Warangal, right? Yeah, 2 from Warangal. So thanks for coming, and this collaboration continues, and we attend their events and vice versa as well. And we have breakfast now, and please do reach out, and other panelists for any questions and all. And this is open for networking. Thank you.